All right, Raj, the first question's the easy one, then we'll get into the meat of things. But how did you fall into franchising? Like, what was your pathway to even getting to the starting line of becoming a franchise brand?
I guess it comes down to just wanting to take what we had done with Funtastik Labs and make it available to people outside of our immediate area. We if you look at the brand, it's really about kids and all that, and we part of why Rolly started this and why I'm involved with this is because we like spending time with our kids, and we didn't want to really try and extend it out where we would be constantly traveling all over the place and trying to manage a business that would be spread out. If we wanted to take this concept and make impact kids across the country or even beyond that at some point.
So two things I want to unpack there. So one, when did you start the business?
I think we registered the business back in 2017, but we only opened our doors in 2019.
Okay. And when you make the decision, so you're registering the business, you're going through the process of creating a business concept. Are you thinking franchising off the bat? Okay.
Not off the bat. I mean, we definitely wanted to do something that could be scalable, but our immediate focus was just around our mission and trying to create an experience that delivered on that mission.
Were the two of you able to quit your jobs and do this full time, or what was your pathway into actually becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so Rolly had already kind of stopped what she was doing before and then had been focusing her time with the kids growing up. I was full-time in my job, and I stayed full-time even after she had started for a long time. It was only in 2021 that I joined full-time. I had transitioned part-time out of my job a little bit kind of along the way, but I joined in 2021. So that's how kind of things evolved. And
what were your guys' careers before you became an entrepreneur?
Rolly kind of came from a more marketing and side background. She did a little bit of fashion related stuff to some degree. And then my background was more in technology and then eventually marketing, technology, and kind of corporate world and all that.
Okay, so go back to you're in the process. 2017 is when you registered the business. For the two of you, are you thinking, how do we spend more time as a family, therefore we want to go into business as an entrepreneur? Or are you thinking there's a gap in the marketplace, we want to solve this? Or how do you even progress from working for someone else to even becoming an entrepreneur?
Sure. So it really started with Rolly, and she was looking at how do I kind of restart my career without doing something 9 to 5. Our kids had grown up, they needed a little bit less time, but it still wasn't to the point where we could, not devote any time. We liked the idea of growing up when we would kind of leave for school or come home, our parents were there for us. And we kind of wanted to make sure that that was the case for our kids. And so she started looking for ideas, and part of I guess what we had in kind of with our kids growing up seen was that they were really into all of this creative stuff. Whether it was with Legos or whether it was with arts or slime or painting. I mean, our place used to be a mess most of the time because there'd be messes here and there, and then the kids would be like, "Hey, I'm going to come back to that. Don't clean that up." And now it's 2 or 3 days later, it's soaked in, and we're working a little bit harder to get it out. So I think for her, and she's really the one that came up with the vision and the idea of wanting to do it. She wanted to create a place where those kind of things would be possible and where parents wouldn't have to worry about the mess, where all of the things were made easy and it wasn't just something that the kids were watching. And as she kind of developed out the idea, I started to get interested. I'd always been involved with the kids as well, from whether it be coaching or there's other programs out there not related to sports, but So I kind of found an interest, and I was like, hey, I want to work with you on this. I won't be able to quit my job, but that doesn't mean I can't support you along the way. And then so we started working on it, and we kind of how the idea started, and we just, I think so. It wasn't kind of the hey, this is a analytical. There's a gap here. It was more of a hey, we think this is something that we value our kids being able to do. We believe there's other people that would value that, and I think the other thing is a lot of what we were seeing was stuff that was more of focused around schools and daycares when it came to STEAM or STEM. And we said, we want this to be more of a fun thing. We want kids to really just enjoy it and have a great time with it. And because if you enjoy something, you're more apt to try it again or pay more interest to it later on. And that's kind of what served as the basis for creating Funtastik Labs.
Were you nervous at all as an entrepreneur? I mean, like going
Absolutely.
it's stressful.
I mean, we hadn't done this, and especially getting a location and you're signing a lease, you're committing to 3, 5. I mean, we committed to a 5-year time frame when we were signing that lease, and so you have to make commitments to landlord that you're really going to stick with this, and so we were nervous because we were putting this. Signing up for these liabilities or these responsibilities, and at the same time, we hadn't really done this. We had seen similar type of things in the space and all, but nobody had done it like what we were trying to do, and so we had the fear. I was, but at the same time, it's it's kind of that. You have to believe in it, but at the same time, if you don't have the fear, you don't. The fear motivates you and propels you to work harder.
Did you have to secure financing? Did you self-finance? How did that work?
We self-financed. I mean, unlike technology companies where there's a huge period of investment, this is you get launched and then it's a question of how much awareness you can generate and can you deliver on your experience and your promise.
Well, and I think that's going to be an important part as you transition into franchising is the pure fact that one, you know what it's like to be nervous, going to bed at night, not knowing what the outcome is of being a business operator. Two, you're able to self-finance it, which means you've engineered a business opportunity that is on the lower end of the spectrum when it comes to jumping into franchising. So you've done some of the things that a franchisee is going to have to go through. So you get the business going. At what point do you turn towards franchising? Is it because a parent comes to you and says you should have multiple locations, or what was the trigger that made you say franchising?
I mean, we did get some of those requests. I think, I guess we're kind of mission driven. With wanting to inspire kids and create these hands-on experiences, and it's kind of the extension of just trying to make that available on a larger scale. So we kind of saw our business getting to the point where we were seeing that, hey, we're going to at some point start to have to turn away birthday parties or things like that, and we could open up other locations, but there would be, there's an investment, there's a time frame, and all of that. And franchising seemed the way to kind of help do that a little bit with, in a way that it wouldn't depend on us going through and taking on either outside investment into the company or. Also, I think one of the other things was we looked at what franchising did, or sorry, not franchising, what Funtastik Labs did for us and what it offered us as a family in terms of being able to kind of stayed true to our values, being able to have our kids to enjoy us being part of Funtastik Labs, and there's kind of every business kind of gives you a certain kind of a lifestyle associated with it, or every career does. And so we thought that Funtastik Labs is great for kids and the parents that are coming to Funtastik Labs. We also think this is great for somebody that wants to run and operate Funtastik Labs. And this is a lifestyle that you can really enjoy if you like working with kids and you like the domain of being involved in a business and running it.
If you go so going through the process of becoming a franchise, so where you are now, and look, I think about the last day that I wasn't in franchising to the day after when I was, and the depth of how deep franchising is. It's not as simple as saying, hey, we're a franchise business, now magically we're going to sell franchises. How have your expectations been? Have they been met? Did you expect something else as an outcome up to this point of going through the process of becoming a franchise?
Yeah, I think, franchising is very different. I think if we were opening our own location, a second location, which we're working on that now, but that'd be more straightforward. But really, that aspect of you're really kind of running two businesses, one which is the business of Funtastik Labs and everything that goes on at our centers, as well as the programs and all of that. And then the franchising part, which is really your customer is a different customer than what hopefully they do love what you do and they can relate to it, but at the same time, they're in it for a different reason. And all of that, the franchising compliance, the franchising generating awareness and marketing and all of that stuff, it's while related, it is kind of a separate set of mindset and operationally what you have to do to enable all of that. So it's been a learning experience. I think we walked in really kind of like, hey, this sounds like a good concept, but we came to realize, hey, there's a lot of different pieces here that we need to have in place, as well as making sure that the concept, the execution, and the reality of it delivers on the promise of Funtastik Labs.
Yeah, it's almost like it's your second stint as an entrepreneur, because going into open up a business, like there's tons of pressures that you put on yourself to go through that. And then you're adding on a franchising, which is almost a separate business that you're almost scaling into your second company while you're still scaling your first. So I would imagine, putting myself in your shoes, there's a lot to think of. How has the dream changed, or has the dream changed on where you want to go with the franchise opportunity?
I don't think it's changed. We have, when we started this and kind of our timeline, what we thought it would look like versus what it's actually looked like, we found that we needed to take more time to continue to do justice to our existing business, as well as really do justice to the franchise offering and provide all of the infrastructure and support and simplifying the model down to for it to operate. So we took that time to go through and do all of that, build an infrastructure, incorporate all that, and it has helped make Funtastik Labs operate more efficiently, where we've been able to kind of pull time away and devote towards the franchising. I think one of the big things has been, for a franchisee or for a franchisor coming into franchising, it's your existing business really serves as the foundation for which your franchise offering is built on, and you have to continue to show success with that business while at the same time building up the franchise offering. And What we unfortunately we think we've been able to do that, and we're looking forward to publishing our next FDD as from when we published it beginning of this year, and we're looking to open our new location, and we're to kind of communicate that, hey, this is a brand that is still new, fresh, and still growing, and still, while at the same time delivers on all the promises that are made to the end customers.
So I want to say a comment, then a follow-up question. But my comment is this: I think the smartest emerging franchisors go the route that you're going. So if I had to write out the perfect blueprint, it's you operate a few corporate locations, which cash flows the business, which means you're not relying on franchise fees to keep the lights on. There are so many emerging brands that have to get that franchise fee to keep the lights on. And then some of the early decisions on who they let into their system might not be the best outcome. And if you make a decision on someone who might not be the best fit, but you need that money to operate the business, now all of a sudden you're actually really harming long-term growth. And for you, you're saying, look, we're publishing our second FDD. That means you've started laying all the foundation. You're not pushing it at unrealistic pace. And because you're opening up a second corporate location, you're showing a model that eventually when a franchise buyer is interested, they're going to say, okay, I see what you're trying to create, or the pathway that I can create for myself. And I think that's the right path. When you now turning on the lights or turning on the engine a little bit more on franchising, do you dream of 1,000 locations? Do you dream of 100 locations? You just dream of the next franchisee? Like, what's the vision there?
So I guess kind of to tie this back to the question you were asking before, we, at the end of the day, whether it be Funtastik Labs as itself or the Funtastik franchising, we really believe in delivering an experience. That's what we're about, right? From the point where a customer contacts us to a point where the customer has done their birthday party or field trip or what have you, we try and want to make that whole experience as great as it can be, because that's kind of what our brand is about. So when it comes to franchising, we want to deliver on the same kind of thing. We want to provide a franchisee a great experience. And part of that is making sure that we deliver on the expectations that we set to our customers, right? We want them to walk away and either they're, be leaving our own review system or publicly, like you see the reviews, we really pay attention to what our customers are saying. And when we hear complaints and all that, we take it back and try and understand what's going on. So we're really customer focused at Funtastik Labs. And even within the franchising side, we want to be very focused on our franchisees and what their experience is going through the process and making that as great as possible. And that's part of why we've taken a bit of that time to go through and do that. To come back to your question about, what are we dreaming of? Again, kind of coming back to the mission, we want to take this and make it available to as many kids as possible. The time frame within which that happens, that's really kind of an outcome, we believe, rather than something that we specifically own as an input into the process. I mean, there's obviously money, we can control how much money we spend on marketing and all that. But at the same time, we don't want to create that situation like you were talking about earlier of putting ourselves in leverage and then having to make compromise decisions about that affect our ability to deliver at the end of the day.
Well, look, if a candidate watches this video, and hopefully they will, I think there's something that's very important to what you just said. I would say 99 out of 100 times, if I said to a franchisor, what's the dream? They're going to say 10, 1,000, a million, whatever their numbers are, they're going to throw these numbers out. And what you just said is, yeah, we have our controls. We can control how much we spend on franchise marketing, and hopefully we get people that are interested, but we're not going to let a number be the tail that wags the dog. And I think in franchising, far too often, the brand lets the number wag the dog. And if you do that, then it goes back to putting potentially the wrong buyers into the wrong situation. So I think it's very important to just call that out as Raj, that's a rarity when it comes to franchising, because you can look at even emerging brands that have incredible fast lift or have good stories. It sets a tone that other franchisors want to follow. I've always loved the Five Guys burgers story, because everybody thought that they exploded in the early 2000s to become like the greatest, better burger brand that ever existed. It's like, well, if you look back at their story, they started in the early 80s. And so if you go early 80s to early 2000s, you're still talking about 20 years to perfect the business before they had the significant growth. And so I think your approach is, let's continue to focus on delighting our franchisees as they come in. Let's delight our customers, and let's continue to scale our business, and the rest should take care of itself. Again, I'm calling that out as a rarity in franchising. Any comments on that?
I mean, at the end of the day, when it's franchising, right, we are people are investing in some cases, probably their livelihoods or their a significant amount of time, money, and sweat, or what have you. So I don't think that's to be taken lightly as a franchisor, in terms of what promises you're making and what you're bringing to the table for them. So we just want to do right by our customers. Whether, again, same thing, we want to do right by our customers at Funtastik Labs in terms of setting expectations and delivering on those, and the same thing from a franchising point of view.
Love it. So when you think about the business opportunity, what is the why you why now? Why should a candidate think of this business if they're looking at franchise opportunities?
I think it comes down to really what I said earlier about a family-focused business, where if like in Rolly's case, or my case, in Rolly's case, she was kind of wanting to restart her career. In my case, to some degree, I was looking to get out of the 9 to 5, and or even more than that, things being busy with commutes, and this was all pre-COVID. So we think what we have is a compelling offering for a prospective franchisee to be able to do something of importance, something that's going to help their communities and deliver on a lifestyle that they would enjoy while with their kids growing up, or if they're just passionate about working with kids. And we believe, we look at it from a standpoint of, having a business that affords them something that a good earning for the investment that they're making, whether it be their time or their money. And as part of running it, something that they'll enjoy being a part of, and even their families, if they have kids and all, would enjoy being a part of.
I mean, look, I think you're setting this thing up the right way. You and I have talked about this before, but brands don't sell brands, people do. And if I'm looking to you as a leader to say, this is who I'm going to follow as a franchise buyer, I think you're setting up the story the right way. Is there anything else that you want a ghost candidate to know about the business that we haven't gone through?
I mean, I think with what we do in terms of science, arts, and engineering, or robotics and slime, I think there's sometimes a conception that you have to be very, very knowledgeable in each one of these, or be able to hire people that have really backgrounds in these. And with the way that we've done it, with the technology that we've put in with our Atom digital assistant, and you see kind of a small image of it there in the middle, we've made it so that it really simplifies things down. I mean, we have 5 and 6 year olds that come in, and we introduce them to the tablet and our staff spends a few seconds showing them how it works, and then they're off and they pick their experiment and they go off and they're mixing things and doing it, and they're playing scientist, and they're doing it well. And whether it comes down to making slime or robotics and all of that, we've been able to incorporate that into where we've really, really simplified it down and turned it into an experience that kids get to do themselves and feel empowered to do it.
Raj, what's the cost to get in?
It's between, I don't remember the number offhand, honestly. It's between 200,000 to 300,000.
And are you guys making an earnings claim in item 19?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Are you making an earnings claim in item 19 in the FDD?
We have our revenue numbers. We have our cost of goods sold. Labor will really depend on how they decide how much they want to be involved or don't want to be involved. We haven't put that number, and labor numbers do vary from location to location a lot, so that's why it's not in there. But I think a franchisee should be able to kind of take the numbers that we've provided and be able to use that to get to some estimate of what their earnings should be.
Love it.
For that.
Well, look, I think for adults, and obviously parents are a target as a franchisee. I mean, the children are who we're selling to from who's our real end consumer that's going to consume the product. Parents have to make the decision. But if parents can think back to when we were kids, think about what we enjoyed doing. I mean, my brain goes immediately back to Chicago Children's Museum. And it wasn't about the museum. It was about this. They had this activity room at the end where you just got to experiment with things and get your hands dirty. And now what you've done is I didn't have iPads when I was growing up. It was just old school teaching and paper. And so you've tied in technology into something that kids will enjoy. And look, if they learn something out of it, fantastic. And it's another thing. You can see that with the birthday parties and other events that you're doing. Like, you've opened this up to go far beyond what the baseline is. So I don't know. I'm excited to see where your business goes. I think you're cracking into an education segment that a lot of the brands are focused more on teaching and tutoring. And I see yours is more focused on speaking the language of the child, which very few children like the hard learning aspect. They like the fun or the creative aspect that comes alongside learning. And so I'm excited to see where the business goes. I think you've done a great job to now. And thanks for sharing your story with me.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate the time. And, I think I think you kind of hit the nail, and I don't think we have said this to ourselves, but, it is really trying to, I think one of the things that we tell our staff is that we want to be silly, we want to be fun. That's part of our DNA, and we want to let our inner kid out and have fun with this. And I think that's something that we loved having captured as part of the initial branding and our logo and all that, and just bringing out the fun and the excitement and letting kids treat it as their own place.
Well, for what it's worth, at some point you should entertain doing adults night, because I like playing with that stuff
too. We've done it a couple of times. It's something, I think with everything that we've got going on, we still have a lot we want to do on the kid side, and but there's definitely room. We've heard for growth. We've had people reach out to us saying, "Hey, I want to do it at this place. I know there's other places out there, but I love what you guys do."
I love it. Well, Raj, thanks for sharing your story. For Raj, I'm Nick. This is another episode of Meet the Zor.